What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We are so excited for this video. We are out in front of Home Depot. We're going to be doing something huge. Our 2024 Cirrus 820 has around 370, 380 watts of solar on it currently, but in this video we're going to be maximizing our solar capacity as well as our DC to DC charging capacity. We really want to thank RedArc for sponsoring us and sponsoring this video because we're going to be installing their solar panels and some of their BCDC Alpha Rs. We're stoked for it, but it's going to be a little bit of work. It's going to be totally custom to our rig, and we have a friend of ours, Michael from the Runaway Parents, that has a crazy rack on their truck camper. At the end of this video, make sure to go follow their channel and check out their rack, but he's going to be helping us build the rack for our truck camper, and we're stoked. So we're hoping it's going to be around 3 to 4 hours if everything goes as planned, but I'm not holding my breath. Let's get to it. Here in the fasteners section, buying the angled aluminum L's brackets, and so this is what we're going to be building the bottom part of the rack out of.
We're going to build the bottom braces and the uprights out of this, and then we're going to come back and build a frame for the top for the panels to go in.
So this is just the
really
starting piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, this will get us started. It's kind of something we're going to build and design it as we go. That's pretty much the way I did mine.
And that's how it works when you're doing it at a Home Depot parking lot too.
Never works when I build it in my head at night, then I get up there and start building it, and everything changes.
It all changes.
It's a process.
It's a good starting spot.
That's it.
And that was trip 1 into Home Depot. Let's see how many times we make our way back into this one today. So what we're doing here is that this is a roof rack that was installed by the manufacturer that's clearly into the frame of the roof. So we're going to remove this roof rack and actually use these same holes on the front and then in the back here, so we know we're in the frame and we know it's a strong starting point. So first things first is removing all the die core out of the holes and then removing the screws as well. So we're up here on the roof. We actually got the roof rack off already. You can see we have our angled aluminum here, and we also have the framing schematic of the roof. So we make sure that we're going into the frame when we're mounting this on. And so we have our marks here of where the roof rack was. We're just gonna follow those exactly. We're gonna die core over any holes that we don't use. And we're gonna keep this angled aluminum as close as we can to this part of the frame right here on the outside, because this is the exterior frame. And there's one more piece within it that goes up and down the camper, like east and west, not north and south. And so we're gonna line this guy up with that and then put these into the frame, obviously, one step at a time, but it's actually coming along pretty quick. Once the roof rack is off, we sealed up all the old holes with die core and applied VHB tape and started to screw all of the bottom parts of the aluminum framing down. The bottom rails went on very smoothly. The next step is making the upright supports that are actually going to be holding the top part of the frame. The uprights we decided to make at 11.5 inches because we wanted to make sure that the entire top part of the rack clears the AC, and the top of the AC is at 11.25 inches.
So they just got back, and then as soon as they put the stuff down, they're like, wait, we need butyl tape. So now they're back in again, 4th time, and we're about 3.5 hours right now, so the timing is going pretty good, better than I expected actually, but I don't want to say anything, you know, I don't want to jump ahead because you never know if there's going to be complications or if it could end up taking longer, but so far we're about 3.5 hours, so killing it. The last solar panel is going up. They've got, how many are up there? 4, and this is number 5?
Yep.
So 4 of them are already bolted down. The 5th one is going up. Let me show you what it looks like before we get that last one on there, or as we get that last one up there. Super exciting.
Here are all the panels on the roof. This is what 900 watts looks like on a Cirrus 820. Before we mounted up the panels, we also added this cool little light strip because why not? The following day we measured our rig and realized we increased our overall height from 12.4 to 12.6. We wanted to keep our overall height the same as it was before, so we decided to move the front middle panel back and drop the entire rack 2.5 inches, so the rig height is now still the original 12.4, and the panels now sit below the AC because they're cradling it. Since we've installed our rack, it is now time to install our BCDCs. And obviously we're not at Home Depot anymore. We've since made our way to California, where a friend of ours named Steve, or Maximus 4x4, has a sweet little property out here where he's allowing us to install these, and he's actually helped us create a schematic and, you know, gauge cable sizes and all that. So super thankful to him as well. It's kind of what the road's all about, is having a community of people that love to help each other out. And check out his channel after this video as well. But here's the BCDC. This is the BCDC Alpha 50, and we have 2 of these that we're going to be installing. And basically what this device is a charge controller and the charge controller from the truck, so a DC to DC as well in one device. So you can see there's a bunch of little things here. We have where your ignition signal comes from, your solar input, your vehicle input, your battery positive and negative, as well as the temperature sensor for the batteries. And so we are super stoked on getting this installed, because it's about time that we have some solar that can really keep up with our usage, because the one that was on the new camp previously, or that's still currently on there from stock, is a great setup. But when you're a power hog like Ashley and I, we just needed a little bit more. So we're super excited to have this thing, or both of them, installed, and that's what we should be doing over the next day or so. We're hoping today will be the day, but we are also waiting for some stuff from Amazon. You can probably see all this stuff from Amazon behind me, but there is more coming for this install. So let's get installing. Being that we are in a small space here in our truck camper, we are very limited on our ability to mount the BCDC in where I wanted it to. So we decided we're going to take the BCDCs and mount them in the cabinet up here, which is above the false bottom to the cabinet. And the reasoning for that is for airflow and that kind of thing, but also the ability to see these LED marker lights without having to like take apart the camper. So I think this is the best option. We're going to mount it up into this plywood here, mount the bus bars here, and mount some breakers down over here. So once that's all mounted up, then we'll run some cabling.
Alright, so the BCDCs are both mounted, the bus bars are mounted here, and then over here we've got our breakers mounted.
Now that we have everything mounted up, what we did was measured the run of cable that's going to be going from our BCDC to our breaker. We measured it at about 56 inches, and we wanted a little bit of, or 54 inches, and we wanted a little bit of extra, so we did 57 inches. And so this side gets a 1/4 inch lug, 6 gauge obviously. This connects to the breaker. This side actually connects to the BCDC. So it's going to be getting a 6 gauge by number 10. Pretty small, but you can see that each side is actually going to be getting a different size lug. So we've already got it measured. Gonna cut it off, rip it off with the Leatherman, crimp it on, and then heat shrink it all together. And that's cable number 1 of many. One more time, break it off. Turn it. Ooh, little pull test. Yeah, buddy. And that, I think, is a beautiful crimp. Just ordered this mini heat gun. It's a little 350 watt. It's actually super small. You can see it comes with a few attachments. So it's pretty cool to be able to just plug into the camper, even though we do have power here. Everything we're using for this install is all going to be in the description down below, as well as the link to the RedArc website to order yourself a 50 amp BCDC Alpha, BCDC-R. There's so many different things that they have on their website. They have solar blankets, they have deployable solar, rooftop panels. All of it's going to be linked down in the description that we use at least. But let's get heating. I'm actually super stoked to use this again. This is the second 3-to-1 shrink wrap that's going on. Stoked with how that's looking. So this is cable 1. We actually only need 2 of these guys, and then we need 2 negatives that are a little bit different of a length, but let's work on these guys first. All right, so this is the solar input, if I can line it up. So what we've connected so far are the 2 cables one for each BCDC, going to the 70 amp breaker, which is going to be going to our distribution box. And now what I'm connecting here is the solar input that is going to BCDC number 1 and number 2. So it's only going to number 1 because this one's going to be solely running as a DC-to-DC charger, while this one is going to be running as an MPPT and a DC-to-DC charger. So what I'm doing here is actually hooking up this bus bar is going to be where the Anderson connector from the outside, from the alternator, comes in. Well, the Anderson connector won't come in, but the cable will come in from the Anderson connector. It'll connect to this, and then we're actually going to be running 2 6-gauge cables to the 5/16 post here, but we're missing the 6-gauge 5/16 lugs, but we're still going to actually hook these up so we keep track of what goes where. So each one of these actually gets one. So we have one there, and it'll look sort of like that. From there, we will also be hooking up the negative on the BCDC to our distribution box under our step. And again, that's a M8 or a 5/16 post, and we're still missing the 6-gauge 5/16.
Should
lugs.
still be delivered tonight, but probably won't get done till tomorrow.
They should be delivered tonight, but we'll see. Fingers crossed they get delivered tonight. But we're just putting them in place so we know what, you know, is practically done besides a couple of crimps. Unfortunately, yesterday we did lose light pretty quickly, so we did as much as we possibly could, and we hooked up a lot of the BCDC stuff that needed to be done. But one of the main things we need to do is actually, we had all of our panels up here in one big series, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to run them that way. We're going to run them in parallel. That's the best way to put it. And so I need to go splice the MC4s or cut them off, and then extend the cables that come on the panels so they can reach a junction box, which the junction box will then go into a solar gland, and then we can continue wiring. So let's do that. I'm hoping it's not too long of a process. So what I'm doing here is actually making the junction box for the roof. So I'm gonna have 5 positives, 5 negatives coming in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. And then we'll have and they're gonna all be connecting to these bus bars. So this is how you're gonna wire them in parallel, or we are. And then off the negative will be coming the negative into the solar gland, and then off the positive will be the positive into the solar gland, to the breaker, to the BCDC. So we bought these MPT fittings, and these are what make it waterproof. So this slides in, you've got this little gasket, and then this screws on the back side. And so we've got to put in 12 because we have 5 entry glands, and then, or 10 entry glands, 5 per panel, and then 2 going out. For the alternator side, we have the solar all wired up to a junction box, and we actually kind of tested it already, and it looks like it's working. We can't really test the wattage currently because the sun's going down. We're like in a shady spot, but we have like an hour and 15 minutes of sun left, and we're gonna actually make the hole for where the alternator or battery cables are going to run back from the truck battery into the truck. So right about here in our false wall box, there is the tie down point, and we're gonna make a hole right in that area, and we're gonna put a solar gland and run the 2-gauge wire through that, and then down to the bed, forward to the truck. Less talk, let's get to it.
All right, Grayson's gonna be making that hole from the outside to inside, and it's gonna be somewhere around here. So it's never fun making these kind of holes, but we gotta do it. Yep, there we go, perfect positioning.
Alrighty, so last night, of course, the sun set a little too soon, just as it does every single day. But here we are on our 3rd day. It's not really our 3rd complete day because we've been kind of like working at it every day for like a couple hours, and now here we are on day 3, finishing this BCDC install. The only things we have to do left are wire the ignition signal cables to upfitter switches 2 and 3. So 2 is going to control our main BCDC that is also connected to our solar, and 3 is going to control our, I guess, backup BCDC that's going to be strictly for alternator charging. So it's going to be nice to be able to toggle those on and off whenever. I would always have 2 on pretty much, and then 3 whenever we're driving or at night or not collecting solar power as well. And then we also have to run the big fat 2-gauge from the truck batteries back to the Anderson plug that is going to be plugged into our camper. We're gonna be running the positive to the passenger side of the battery because that's where like the starter is and all that, on the positive terminal in the truck. And then on the negative side is actually, or the driver's side, is where the negative terminal is grounded to the engine block. So we're gonna run our positive from the Anderson on the passenger, our driver is gonna be the negative, and our camper is gonna be fully grounded and integrated into our truck's ground. So let's complete this install. For all the cabling that we are running today, it's gonna be coming through our false wall side box. I've already drilled holes here in the flatbed, and currently we actually already ran the 14 gauge, which I think is a little large for an ignition switch signal, but I think it's actually perfectly fine because the bigger the better, right? So we use this 2-in-1 wiring. It's marine grade, 90C, good stuff. And we zip tied it all up, followed the truck's frame to the driver's side of the truck because that's where the upfitter relay box is. We already tested power and it is getting 14 volts to both the positive and negative. And since we only need one wire per BCDC, we're gonna use the red for the main with the solar, and the black is gonna go to the other BCDC, both acting as a singular wire, because that's what they really are when they're in here. So 2 singular wires, they're just in a casing with 2 different colors is basically how we're gonna phrase that one. And now we just have to run the 2 big cables for the Anderson connector coming back.
We've got this cable up, the one that Grayson was talking about. It's all zip tied up. Grayson was trying to follow the factory wiring to keep it all nice and neat. The only thing we're unsure of is what this yellow cable is. It was already here. So at some point we'll figure out what that is, but this is up and good to go.
So what we're doing now is running that 2 gauge. We have a hole drilled in the bed where all the cables are going through, and then we're running the 2 gauge along the frame. The positive is gonna stay on the passenger side like we talked about, and the negative has actually already been run to the driver's side. And so we're doing our best, again, to follow all of the holes that we can, or frame lines and all that kind of stuff, so it can be nice, high and tight and away from anything too hot. But pretty satisfied with how it's coming along, and it shouldn't be too much longer till we're done here. Before we wrap up this install, I really want to talk about why we partnered with RedArc, why we chose RedArc, because there's obviously so many companies out there that you can choose from and that we can choose from. But these are the top 3 reasons as to why we chose RedArc. The first one is their efficient power conversion. So their BCDC units are really good with something they have installed in them or configured them to do, which is called green priority. So it prioritizes your solar power income first, and then it will take the rest off of your alternator, which is really cool and I think is super efficient. The second thing is it's built for off-road and rugged use. And so you guys know we like to take our campers places they don't belong, especially our new F450, and we're super stoked that it's built for our adventure basically, or any adventure, because they can handle the harsh conditions. And the third reason is going to be the seamless integration. So whether you're building a simple system or integrating one of their products into a current system like we did, or even going bananas like we did with the roof rack and the 2 BCDCs, they work so seamlessly and are so easy to install, pretty user friendly, and you can really install it with just the manual. But since ours was such a custom installation, it was a little bit different. But let's finish this install. We've got 2 more cables to connect, just literally the power positive and the power negative for the Anderson that's going back. That's actually where we're going to be charging through our BCDC from our alternator from. Let's do it.
We just put the finishing touches on the BCDCs. So we added this piece to go around that's actually there for protection, because this is a cabinet, other stuff goes in here, so it will keep anything from directly bumping into it. It will also give it some ventilation. So now that that's in here, we can actually put this piece back in as well, and then we can put all of our stuff back in here, and this cabinet will be back to normal, but better, upgraded for sure.
Here we are hooked up to the Red Vision app, which is what RedArc uses to see all the stuff behind the scenes. And so you can see we are getting 364 watts. Our voltage is so low because we're actually running the AC in order to show you this. So 365 watts, 22-ish volts, and 27-ish amps. And so you can see the car icon is not lit up green yet. And we're reading a 12.8 battery voltage on the truck. Ashley's gonna turn the truck on and it should actually turn green and then start charging from the truck as well. So you can see it's already found that the truck voltage is 14.7 now that it's on. Now the vehicle turned on and we're getting a combined 48.5 amps, give or take. 390 watts is coming from solar the rest of the charge and amperage is coming from the truck. Super cool, because our AC on the camper is on and our voltage is still going up. It was 13.1, now it's 13.4. So pretty cool to be able to see all this in an app. We are so excited to see that our solar is working so effectively, even in this spot where we are actually partially shaded. And we're super stoked to have alternator charging. While we did have a 12 amp BCDC from RedArc, we are so excited to have up to almost 100 amps of BCDC charging if we need it, and 900 watts of solar on the roof with 600 amp hours of lithium batteries. But if you watched the video this far, thank you so much for watching our install. And we also want to thank RedArc one more time for sponsoring this video. We're so stoked to have their products integrated into our now monstrous system, mainly with their stuff. And so if you've liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to our channel. And if you're not even watching our videos, make sure you're subscribing. It helps our channel out a lot. And then if I were you, I'd have your post notifications on by hitting that bell, because we have some exciting adventures coming up, a crazy road trip that we're going to be announcing in our next video. So before you click out, hit that bell and stay tuned till next week. Peace out, y'all.